Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going deep on Roche, the vitamin folks.
Yeah, most people know them from the vitamin aisle. But there's a whole lot more to this company.
There is, and we've got a bunch of stuff to dig through today. We've got Wikipedia articles and some analyst reports to really get a feel for Roche.
From their very beginnings all the way to where they stand today.
Okay, so let's get started. Roche, founded back in 1896 by Fritz Hoffmann Laroche.
Back then, they were all about those vitamin preparations.
Vitamins. It seems simple, right?
Well, they really pioneered the field. Like in 1934, they were the first to mass-produce synthetic vitamin C.
Really?
Yep, branded as redoxin. Probably still see it on the shelves today.
Wow, I bet I do. So at the forefront of vitamins, but then World War II happened.
Yeah, that's where things get a little, well, messy. Collaborations with the Nazi regime, definitely a dark spot in their history.
It is. But there are also stories of them trying to protect Jewish employees, relocating them to the U.S. during the war. It's a complicated picture.
A reminder that things are rarely just black and white. And now, fast forward to today, Roche, a global pharmaceutical powerhouse.
They really are, leading the development of all sorts of drugs for, well, some really tough diseases. Cancer, viral diseases, you name it.
Oh, and metabolic disorders. They're huge in that field, too.
And their drug list on Wikipedia, it's huge. Over 50 drugs.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. Let's focus on some of the big ones that show their impact, like Valium.
Right. Valium, the anxiety medication.
Benzodiazepine, been used for, well, forever, it seems like. And then there's Tamiflu.
Tamiflu, the flu drug.
Yep, an antiviral. Became super well known during the swine flu pandemic back in 2000.
These are big ones impacting so many lives.
What else? Oh, there's Accutane, super effective acne medication, but some debate about potential side effects.
Right, I've heard of that one.
And in the cancer world, Herceptin has been huge. It's a targeted therapy for breast cancer,
Yeah.
specifically HER2 positive. Made a real difference for a lot of patients.
They're tackling some serious stuff. But it wasn't all in-house development, right?
Right. Fully owned Genentech now, a major biotech company.
Genentech, I know that name.
And they picked up Chugai Pharmaceuticals, which gave them a foothold in the Japanese market.
Makes sense.
And then there's Ventana and Foundation Medicine. They're more on the diagnostic side, tissue analysis and all that.
So they're not just making drugs, they're involved in all these stages of healthcare.
Very strategic. And it's all reflected in their financials. Consistent revenue growth, strong profits. They've actually increased their dividend every year for like 34 years.
Wow, 34 years straight. That's impressive. Clearly committed to shareholder value. But what about their prospects right now? What are the analysts saying?
That's where it gets interesting. Reports from TipRanks and Zacks, both kind of neutral. A hold rating. Not a screaming buy, but not negative either.
Old. Okay, so what's the thinking there?
Well, the 12-month price target from TipRanks is $42.50, which could mean over 19% upside. And Zacks points to their strong financials, good sales, consistent earnings growth. They've even got Roche on their momentum scorecard.
Meaning?
Good timing for investment, potentially. So yeah, analysts are on the fence, but there are these signs of possible future growth.
It's all coming together. The history, the drugs, the financials, the analyst view.
Right.
But we also have to talk about the controversies. World War II is one thing, but they've had more recent issues too.
Right, like back in 2013, they had this whole tax problem, transfer mispricing, shifting profits between countries.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Ended up having to pay back billions of Swiss francs to the Swiss government.
A hefty fine, for sure. Adds another dimension to our understanding of Roche.
It does. Reminds us that financial success doesn't always equal ethical perfection.
True. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this first part of our Roche deep dive. From humble vitamin beginnings to this global pharmaceutical giant, their products, their financials, all of it, and of course the complexities of their past.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. And next time, we'll really get into the nitty-gritty of their financial data and look at their two main branches, pharmaceuticals and diagnostics.
That's going to get even more interesting. Stick with us.
Welcome back. So let's really dig into Roche's financials. Get into the numbers.
All right, so we've got this table from Wikipedia, shows their financial data over the years, all in Swiss francs. What jumps out at you?
Well, the first thing, look at that revenue growth. Steady climb. Back in 2013, 46.78 billion Swiss francs in revenue.
Okay.
By 2022, that number's all the way up to 66.43 billion.
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive growth. Good sign for investors generally.
Consistent growth like that, yeah, it usually means the business is doing well.
Exactly. And it's not just revenue, their net income also shows they're, actually making money.
Profitable.
Profitable, yeah. Some ups and downs, sure, but overall, pretty solid.
So financially, they're in a good spot. Plus, those consistent dividend payouts over 3 decades, that says something.
Definitely. Shows they care about sharing the success with their shareholders.
They do.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about their business structure. What are their different divisions? What do they actually offer?
So Roche has two main branches, pharmaceuticals and diagnostics.
Not just drugs, then. They're also into the tools and tech used to diagnose diseases.
Yeah, exactly. Their diagnostics division makes the equipment and reagents, all that stuff, used in research and medical testing.
Okay.
And it's a pretty big operation. 5 major business areas within that: applied science, professional diagnostics, diabetes care, molecular diagnostics, and then tissue diagnostics, which they got when they bought Ventana.
So they're really all over the healthcare process.
They are. And on the pharmaceutical side, as we said, tons of products. Over 50 drugs on Wikipedia alone. But, it's not just about the quantity.
Right. We talked about some of the key ones: Valium, Tamiflu, Accutane, Herceptin. But are there others that really stand out?
Oh, absolutely. They're big in HIV/AIDS treatment, developed several antiretroviral drugs, including Fusion.
Fusion.
Yeah, it was the first fusion inhibitor approved for HIV. Blocks HIV from getting into healthy cells.
That's pretty amazing.
It was a big deal when it came out. And they're still pouring money into HIV research and other viral diseases like Hep C.
So still innovating in that area.
Yeah. And another area they're really pushing is personalized healthcare. It's a whole new frontier in medicine.
Personalized healthcare, what does that even mean?
It's basically tailoring treatments to each individual patient based on their genes, lifestyle, environment, all of that.
Oh, interesting. So not just one drug for everyone with the same condition.
Nope. Personalized healthcare is about finding the best treatment for each person. And Roche is, well, they're kind of leading the charge here, using their expertise in diagnostics, genomics, data analysis, all of it.
So that acquisition of Foundation Medicine, the genomic profiling company, that ties into this.
It totally does. Foundation Medicine analyzes tumor DNA, looks for specific mutations. And that helps doctors choose targeted therapies that are more likely to work for that specific patient.
It all sounds very high-tech.
It is. But it makes you wonder, does all this fancy tech come with a fancy price tag?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Isn't personalized medicine super expensive?
It can be, and that raises questions about access and affordability for sure. But the hope is, if you can find the right treatment early on, you actually save money in the long run.
How so?
Less unnecessary treatments, shorter hospital stays, things like that.
Okay, makes sense. So there are pros and cons to consider.
Definitely. But Roche's move into personalized medicine, it shows how they're constantly evolving, adapting to the changing healthcare landscape.
It does. This deep dive is really showing just how, well, multifaceted Roche is. Strong financials, diverse products, pushing innovation, but also those ethical questions from their past. What are your overall thoughts?
You can't deny their commitment to scientific advancement. They're tackling some of the biggest medical challenges out there.
Yeah.
Their R&D spending, their acquisitions, it all points to a company that's thinking ahead.
They're not afraid to take risks, to invest in the future. But we can't ignore their past either.
Nope. Those controversies are part of their story. And it's up to each person to decide how much weight those past actions carry.
Right. But it's worth noting that they have taken steps to address those issues. They've been pretty open about what happened, put new compliance programs in place.
Yeah, that's important. Companies need to own their past and, actually do something to prevent those kinds of things from happening again.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've looked at their financials, their products, their push for innovation, the ethical side of things. What else do we need to cover to really wrap this up?
Well, we haven't talked about their global reach. They're in over 100 countries, remember?
Right, they're not just a Swiss company anymore. They're impacting healthcare all over the world.
Exactly. And that brings up questions about access to healthcare in developing countries. How do they handle providing these advanced treatments in places with limited resources?
That's a big question.
It is. They do have programs and partnerships to improve access in those areas, working with governments, NGOs, trying to make their products and diagnostics more available and, more affordable.
So they're thinking about the social impact of their work, not just profits.
Yeah, but let's be real. There's always a balance to strike. Making money versus making sure everyone can get life-saving treatments. It's tough for any pharmaceutical company.
It's a balancing act for sure.
And it makes you wonder, how do all these different groups see Roche? Patients, doctors, governments, investors, they all have their own perspectives.
That's a lot of different voices to consider.
It is, but by being open, by talking to everyone involved, companies like Roche can try to find solutions that work for everybody.
Transparency is key then.
Definitely. And that kind of brings us back to something we've been circling around this whole time, ethics.
Right, those past controversies, they remind us that any company, even one as innovative as Roche, can make ethical missteps.
And it's so important to learn from those mistakes, put things in place to prevent them from happening again.
Agreed. All right, welcome back from the final part of our deep dive on Roche.
Mm.
We've gone through their history, financials, products, you name it. Even talked about personalized medicine, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of ground covered. But Roche is a global company, operates in over 100 countries.
That's right. We need to zoom out a bit, look at the bigger picture.
Exactly. Think about their global impact, what their actions mean for healthcare around the world.
It really is amazing when you think about it. Started with vitamins in Switzerland, and now here they are, this massive player in global healthcare.
And that raises all sorts of questions about, access, especially in developing countries.
Yeah, how do you provide cutting-edge treatments in places where resources and infrastructure might be limited?
It's a huge challenge. We've talked about their innovation, their investment in all this advanced tech. But can people in every corner of the world actually benefit from that?
That's the question.
Right. They do have initiatives, partnerships, all aimed at improving access in those low and middle income countries,
Nope.
working with governments, NGOs, the whole 9 yards, trying to make their products and diagnostics, first available and then affordable.
So they're not just thinking about the bottom line then.
Yeah, there's a sense of, social responsibility. You're a global healthcare leader. Got to think about that stuff.
Makes sense, but I imagine it's tricky.
Oh, it definitely is. You've got the need to make money, but you also got to make sure people can actually get these life-saving treatments. It's a constant balancing act for these companies.
It is, isn't it? And how do people see them? I mean, Roche gets judged from all sides.
Oh, yeah. Patients, doctors, governments, investors, they all have different expectations.
You can't please everybody.
Nope. But, being open, talking to everyone, collaborating, that's how companies like Roche can at least try to find solutions that work for as many people as possible.
Transparency goes a long way.
Absolutely. And it all comes back to, ethics, something we've talked about throughout this whole deep dive.
Yeah, those past controversies, they serve as a reminder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the most innovative companies can make ethical mistakes.
It's true. Got to learn from those mistakes, put systems in place to prevent them from happening again.
Build a real culture of, doing the right thing.
Right. It's an ongoing process.
So, as we wrap up our Roche deep dive, what are we left with? It's a complicated picture, really. They're pushing the boundaries of science and medicine, but also dealing with these ethical challenges that come with being a global player.
Yep. And at the end of the day, it's up to each person to decide what they think about Roche. We've given you the information, the insights, the different perspectives. Now you form your own opinion.
Exactly. Whether you're thinking about investing or you're a healthcare professional or just someone who's interested in, how these big companies shape our world, keep digging, keep asking questions, hold them accountable.
Yeah, the future of healthcare depends on companies like Roche operating with, transparency, integrity, and a genuine desire to make things better for everyone.
Well said. So that's our Roche Deep Dive. Hope you found it insightful, maybe even a little thought-provoking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.